Beyond the gate, spoilers tease that Ted and Shanice have already crossed that quiet line where things stop being casual and start becoming something heavier. Something that carries weight even when neither of them says it out loud. Because Ted has been showing again and again that what he feels for Shanice is not some temporary excitement, not a rebound after the collapse of his marriage with Nicole. No, it looks real, messy real, the kind that makes a man act different without even noticing it. Shanice sees that too. She notices the small changes in him, the way he listens more carefully when she talks, the way he stops joking when the conversation turns serious, and maybe that is why she has slowly started trusting him. For a long time, she worried that Ted could betray her the way men sometimes do when they carry too much baggage from the past, but now things feel different. The distance between them is shrinking. They meet more often, sometimes planned, sometimes spontaneous, sometimes just a message late at night that says, "Come see me," and somehow the other one always does. The rhythm of their connection keeps building, not loud but persistent, and people around them can feel that something is changing. Ted himself probably did not expect to fall into another relationship this quickly after divorcing Nicole. The divorce is still fresh in many ways, not just legally, but emotionally. There are still echoes of that old life hanging around him, memories that show up at strange moments, a song on the radio, a restaurant they once visited together, a comment from someone who still thinks of him as Nicole's husband. But even with all that lingering behind him, Ted seems to have stepped forward into something new. Shanice did not arrive in his life with fireworks or grand declarations. It happened slower, more quietly, conversations stretching longer, laughter lingering after jokes, eyes meeting a little too often. That kind of slow build sometimes ends up stronger than dramatic beginnings, and maybe that is what is happening here. Still, the idea of building a long-lasting future together is not something that can be taken lightly. When two people start getting serious, they carry responsibilities toward each other, responsibilities that grow heavier the deeper the relationship goes. Right now, Ted and Shanice are enjoying the warmth of their connection, but life has a way of throwing complicated questions into the middle of things. One question that hangs quietly in the air is what would happen if Shanice suddenly discovered she was pregnant. It is the kind of possibility that can change everything overnight. A relationship that once felt like a romantic escape can suddenly turn into something far more serious, something that demands decisions, commitments, and sacrifices. If that moment ever came, Ted's reaction would matter more than anything else. Some people might expect hesitation from him because his divorce from Nicole is still recent. Others might wonder if he would be afraid of stepping back into the responsibilities of marriage and family life so quickly. But Ted himself seems different when Shanice is involved. His feelings toward her are not casual. They have depth, intention, maybe even a sense of destiny that he has not fully admitted yet. Because of that, if Shanice ever told him she was pregnant, the answer might come faster than anyone expects. Ted would probably not run away from that situation. In fact, he might move in the opposite direction. Commitment, proposal, marriage. Those words could appear sooner than people think. Of course, the story becomes more complicated when Leslie's name enters the conversation. For Ted, whatever happened with Leslie sits in a strange place in his memory. He tends to think of it as an accident, something that happened during a moment when circumstances spun out of control. Sometimes he even wonders if Leslie deliberately set things up, if she manipulated the situation to trap him in something he never truly wanted. Ted insists, both to himself and to anyone who asks, that he never had genuine feelings for Leslie. Whatever existed there was brief, confusing, and ultimately meaningless compared to what he feels now with Shanice. That difference is important. With Shanice, Ted was the one who moved forward first. He noticed her, he started the conversations, he made the effort to see her again and again. His feelings grew naturally, not through pressure or tricks, but through simple human connection. That is why the relationship between Ted and Shanice feels more stable despite how new it still is. When affection grows from genuine choice, it tends to carry more strength. Ted chose Shanice. That choice is visible in the way he treats her, in the way he prioritizes time with her, even when life becomes complicated. If Shanice ever did find herself pregnant, the situation would test Ted's sincerity. Yet everything about his current behavior suggests he would step forward rather than step back. A proposal would not feel forced in his mind. Instead, it might feel like the natural continuation of something that was already forming between them. Marriage would not be an obligation created by circumstance. It would be the confirmation of a love he already recognizes. But there is another layer to this possibility. Shanice herself might not be ready for motherhood yet. Her life has only recently begun moving into a new direction with Ted. The romance between them still feels fresh, light, almost playful at times. She enjoys those moments when the world fades away and the relationship becomes just the two of them laughing, teasing each other, sharing small adventures. Introducing a baby into that equation could change the rhythm of everything. Responsibility would arrive suddenly, reshaping the future they are only beginning to explore. Because of that, the question of pregnancy may depend as much on Shanice's feelings as it does on circumstance. Right now, she seems more interested in enjoying the romantic phase of the relationship. She likes the excitement of new love, the unpredictable energy that comes from not knowing exactly where things will go. Those moments matter to her. She does not appear to be rushing toward the next stage of life just yet. Instead, she wants time to experience the sweetness of what she and Ted are building together before the heavier decisions arrive. While Ted and Shanice move deeper into their complicated romance, another tension continues simmering elsewhere. Kat and Chelsea remain stuck in a quiet conflict that refuses to fade away easily. Their friendship has always been strong, but lately, the connection between them has become strained. The problem lies in Chelsea's recent changes that Kat does not fully understand or accept. For Kat, the situation feels frustrating because their personal disagreement spills directly into their professional lives. Both women work together and they built their company side by side. That shared responsibility makes it nearly impossible to avoid each other even when emotions run high. Every meeting, every decision, every conversation about the business carries a faint layer of tension underneath it. When partners cannot communicate openly, the work itself begins to suffer. Kat understands that reality, yet pride and hurt feelings keep blocking the path toward reconciliation. Nicole, Kat's mother, has been watching the situation carefully. She knows her daughter well enough to recognize when stubbornness is about to make things worse. At some point, Nicole decides to speak honestly with Kat, offering advice that comes from experience rather than judgment. She reminds Kat that relationships, whether personal or professional, rarely survive long if both sides refuse to listen. Sometimes someone has to take the first step toward understanding. Sometimes pride must step aside. Interestingly, Kat seems more willing to hear those words this time. In the past, she might have argued immediately, pushing back against any suggestion that she should compromise. But something about the current moment feels different. Maybe it is maturity slowly shaping her reactions. Maybe it is exhaustion from carrying unresolved anger for too long. Or maybe it is the influence of another conversation she had earlier. That earlier conversation came from Vernon. He spoke with Kat not as someone trying to control her decisions, but as someone who wanted her to see the bigger picture. Vernon shared thoughts about loyalty, communication, and the way misunderstandings can quietly destroy partnerships if they are ignored. His words stayed with Kat longer than she expected. They echoed in her mind during quiet moments when she replayed the conflict with Chelsea again and again. Because of Nicole's advice and Vernon's earlier conversation, Kat might finally be ready to soften her stance. The anger she feels toward Chelsea has not disappeared, but it may no longer feel as solid as before. Doubt creeps in, questions begin forming. What if Chelsea was not entirely wrong? What if both of them contributed to the problem in different ways? This situation between Kat and Chelsea is not new territory for them. They have argued before, sometimes intensely, sometimes over issues that seemed small at first but grew larger through misunderstanding. Yet each time, they eventually found their way back to each other. Their bond survived those previous storms because underneath the arguments there was always respect and a shared history that neither wanted to abandon. Chelsea herself has also been reflecting on the conflict. Naomi offered her advice recently, reminding her that conflicts rarely have a single villain. When two people clash, responsibility often spreads across both sides, even if the details are uneven. Chelsea listened carefully to Naomi's perspective. At first, she felt defensive, convinced that Kat was the one refusing to see reason. But time has a strange effect on arguments. Distance allows people to reconsider moments they once viewed differently. As days pass, Chelsea begins recognizing places where she might have handled things better. Maybe her tone was sharper than necessary. Maybe she dismissed Kat's concerns too quickly. These realizations do not erase the hurt she felt, but they open a door toward reconciliation. She starts wondering if reaching out to Kat could finally break the stalemate between them. Time itself becomes a quiet mediator in their conflict. With every passing day, the initial anger fades slightly, replaced by reflection. Both women slowly understand that holding on to resentment will only damage their company and their friendship. The realization grows stronger the longer they stay apart emotionally. Eventually, one of them will have to speak first. Another development approaches that could indirectly influence Kat's decisions. Tomas is preparing to introduce her to some of his friends during an upcoming outing. For Tomas, this moment feels natural, almost routine. Bringing someone important into his social circle signals trust and openness. Yet, for Kat, the situation carries a little more complexity. Meeting a partner's friends often triggers questions about the future of the relationship. It is a subtle step toward deeper involvement. Kat finds herself thinking about what this invitation means. Does Tomas see their relationship as something serious? Or is he simply including her casually without attaching deeper expectations? Normally, Kat might discuss those questions with Shancie. In the past, Shancie often provided straightforward advice when Kat faced complicated relationship situations. But with the current tension between them, that source of guidance feels temporarily unavailable. Kat hesitates. She misses the easy conversations they once had about life, love, and everything in between. Some people around Kat hold a different opinion about Tomas. They suspect that his interest in her might not be entirely genuine. According to their perspective, Tomas could be using the connection strategically. Kat's professional network and social influence might offer opportunities he finds valuable. If that interpretation is correct, the relationship could carry hidden motivations. The suspicion creates an uncomfortable possibility. What if Tomas sees Kat as a bridge to connections rather than as a partner? If that were true, the introduction to his friends might be less about genuine affection and more about expanding his own network through her presence. Once those connections are established, the relationship itself might lose importance. Of course, these theories remain unproven. Tomas may simply care about Kat and want her to meet the people who matter to him. But uncertainty still lingers. Kat cannot ignore the whispers she has heard. They stay in the back of her mind, quietly influencing how she interprets his actions. If Kat and Shancie manage to repair their friendship soon, Kat will probably bring this concern directly to her. Shancie has always been honest with her opinions, sometimes brutally so. That honesty might help Kat see the situation more clearly. Whether the advice reassures her or warns her, at least it would come from someone she trusts. For now, the future of several relationships remains uncertain. Ted and Shanice stand on the edge of deeper commitment, their feelings growing stronger with each meeting. The possibility of pregnancy hangs in the background, like a question that could reshape their lives instantly. Kat and Shancie hover near reconciliation, slowly realizing that their partnership means too much to sacrifice over stubborn pride. Meanwhile, Tomas prepares to bring Kat into his circle of friends, an event that could either strengthen their bond or reveal uncomfortable truths about his intentions. All these threads move forward at the same time, intersecting through shared emotions, doubts, and hopes. Some relationships move closer together, while others struggle through temporary distance. Each character faces decisions that could quietly change the direction of their lives. And although no one can see the full outcome yet, the tension building beneath these moments promises that the next chapter will not remain calm for long.